Mysterious documentary narrator. What if returning to the moon is far more dangerous than leaving Earth? What if the real threat isn't space itself, but what happens to the human body and mind once there is no escape? Welcome to the Artemis Program, humanity's return ticket to the moon. Forget the clean, silent spacecraft of science fiction where captains sip tea while gazing at the stars. Artemis is loud, violent, uncomfortable, and relentlessly unforgiving. There is constant noise, endless vibration, and nowhere to hide from it. The spacecraft shakes, hums, and rattles as systems fight to keep 4 humans alive. It is advanced technology, yes, but it is also raw survival wrapped in metal and software. If Apollo was a reckless sprint in a modified go-kart, Artemis is a month-long drive in a cramped camper on a broken dirt road. 4 people packed into a space that would be considered legally uninhabitable on Earth. It is an engineering miracle held together by billions of dollars, titanium, redundancy, and brutal compromise. Every design choice sacrifices comfort in favor of survival, and the crew lives with those decisions every minute. Let's break down this lunar recreational vehicle level by level and understand why surviving up there is often harder than getting there. Because in space, the real enemy is daily life. At the center of the mission is the Orion capsule. On paper, it is the safest spacecraft ever built. In reality, it is a pressurized cone where privacy simply does not exist. NASA engineers faced ruthless decisions: more legroom or redundant flight computers, a shower or extra life support margins. Comfort always loses when mass and safety are on the line. The result is a living volume of roughly 9 cubic meters. Picture a large SUV, windows sealed, 4 adults inside, and no exit for weeks. That is Orion. That is home. This is the crew module. It is where astronauts live, work, eat, and struggle to stay mentally balanced. NASA studies show the minimum livable space to avoid psychological breakdowns, and Orion sits right on that edge. There are no bedrooms. When it's time to sleep, astronauts unroll sleeping bags and attach them to walls, ceilings, or floors. In microgravity, down does not exist. They sleep floating like hibernating bats, surrounded by the constant hum of ventilation fans. Without that noise, carbon dioxide would pool around their heads and suffocate them silently. The air is recycled endlessly. After a few days, it develops a persistent smell of heated plastic, ozone, and 4 humans who cannot properly wash. It seeps into everything. And then there is the elephant in the capsule, the bathroom, officially called the UWMS, the Universal Waste Management System, a $23 million toilet. Using it requires special training. There is no gravity to help. Everything relies on airflow, essentially a high-powered vacuum guiding waste away from the body. Astronauts must aim accurately while floating. Miss the target, and cleaning up free-floating waste becomes the top priority of the mission. It is exactly as unpleasant as it sounds. Then comes water. This is where realism turns brutal. Transporting water from Earth costs a fortune, so nothing is wasted. Absolutely nothing. Moisture from breath, sweat, and yes, urine is collected, distilled, chemically treated, and returned to the drinking system. Astronaut humor says it best: today's coffee was yesterday's coffee. There is no shower. Hygiene consists of wet wipes and rinse-free soap. a daily sponge bath to prevent bacteria and fungi from taking over the skin. It is cold, sticky, and deeply unsatisfying. Once in lunar orbit, the scale of everything changes. The crew transfers from Orion to SpaceX's Starship HLS to descend to the surface. If Orion is a crowded SUV, Starship is an empty skyscraper. After landing, the astronauts are 30 to 40 meters above the lunar surface. There is no ladder. There is an external mechanical elevator. It works, but it is terrifyingly critical. If it fails while you are on the surface, you cannot get back up. If it fails while you are on board, you cannot get down. There is no backup staircase. And then there is the dust. The moon is hostile. Lunar regolith is not soft sand. It is pulverized volcanic glass, razor sharp and electrically charged. It sticks to everything. It gets into seals, scratches visors, and destroys mechanisms. When brought inside, it becomes a serious health hazard. Breathing it damages lungs. The airlock will smell like burnt gunpowder, the signature scent of lunar dust, black, abrasive, and stubbornly persistent. While working outside, the human body quietly begins to fail. Without gravity, muscles and bones are deemed unnecessary, and the body starts dismantling them. Exercise is not optional. Every single day, for about 2 hours, astronauts must strap themselves into resistance machines and fight their own biology. Imagine doing squats while tied to a wall with massive elastic bands, in a room that smells of recycled sweat, knowing that skipping workouts means returning to Earth with severe bone loss. It is a cruel routine, but a necessary one. In space, survival requires constant effort. Nothing comes for free. On paper, Artemis looks like masochistic madness. It is uncomfortable, terrifying, full of lethal risks, and forces astronauts to drink water recycled from their own bodies. But comfort is not the goal. Artemis is a test. The moon is our cosmic backyard, the closest and most unforgiving training ground available. If humanity can survive this hostile camping trip just 3 days from Earth, then we might be ready for the real challenge. Mars. 6 months of travel, total isolation, problems multiplied beyond imagination. Artemis is not a vacation. It is extreme survival training for an entire species. And despite the smell, the danger, and the recycled coffee, the view from up there makes every sacrifice worth it. Fasten your seatbelts. We are going back.